St. Patrick's Day. Everybody's Irish today. If I'm Irish any other day, they haven't told me, and it certainly hadn't been obvious. But we're gonna be Irish today, and so certainly happy St. Patty's Day. Means a little bit different this year, but hopefully, as things get better next year, it will be a bigger celebration than maybe it has been in the past as we continue to work through this COVID environment that we're in. Hope everyone has had a good week thus far, and look forward to what we're going to get accomplished here today. As is our regular tradition, we're going to do introductions. I'll call everybody out. If you just tell us who you are and what you do, that would be great. I'll start. I'm Chris Johnson, Chairman of Augusta, Georgia Land Bank, as well as Chief Deputy Tax Commissioner. Lisa.
Lisa Williams, Coordinator for the Land Bank.
Sean.
Sean Edwards, Executive Director, Land Bank.
Administrator Sims.
Jarvis Sims, Deputy Administrator over Operations.
Scott.
Scott Roundtree, Board Member and Chief Appraiser for the Tax Assessors.
John.
I'm John Manton. I'm attorney for the Land Bank.
Charles.
Charles Williams, Richmond County Tax Commissioner's Office.
Ashley.
Ashley Neville, Richmond County Tax Commissioner's Office.
Rob.
Rob Sherman, Director of Planning and Development and a member of the Land Bank.
Glad to see Wimberly is with us today. Lonnie.
Hey, Lonnie Wimberly, Deputy Director of Environmental Service Operations.
Sounds good. Administrator Donald.
Administrator Donald, Augusta, Richmond County.
Mr. Hawthorne Welcher.
Hawthorne Welcher, Housing and Community Development.
Ms. Lauren Dallas.
Lauren Dallas, Executive Director of Augusta Tomorrow and Land Bank Board Member.
Ms. Karen Gordon.
Hey there, Karen Gordon, Garden City Jazz Director and member of the Land Bank Authority.
And we also have Mr. Jeff Lewis, who is here, who is helping us out with our IT needs. And so, Jeff, hello to you as well. I'm going to go ahead and get started on our agenda items. Lisa has sent out a copy of the meeting minutes from February 17th. Let me stop right there. I'm sorry. Something we'll talk about a little bit later, more detail, but something I should have done. Let me say congratulations to Administrator Donald, as well as to Augusta Richmond County. We did have a successful passing of the SPLOS on yesterday. And so certainly we're glad to hear about that. Administrator Donald, is there anything that you would like to say about that?
Oh, listen, I'm excited that our residents, have the faith in government to allow us to bring these innovative projects together. Definitely focused on blight here with the Land Bank, but also 45 other projects, not the least of which is the James Brown Arena that helps to push this forward. So I'm excited about it for our residents and for our business partners. So I can't wait to get started, which is kind of gone from convincing people to vote for it to now trying to make sure we show them why they did. So that work has already begun. That's excellent. And that also means that for the rest of us, the work begins now. Item 2A, again, as I was saying, Lisa sent out a copy of the meeting minutes. If you have not had a chance to look over them, please take a moment or two to do so. And if one of the board members will give me a motion from the floor concerning acceptance of those February 17th meetings. Motion to approve the February 17th minutes. Do I have a second? Motion has been made. Motion has been made, Administrator Donald, and seconded by Chief Appraiser Roundtree to accept the meeting minutes from February 17th. All in favor, I will call out the call the roll. Scott?
Aye.
Commissioner Donald?
The commissioner, that wasn't me, right?
You know what? Hey, that was a Freudian slip. Administrator Donald. Rob,
Yes.
Lauren,
Yes, sir.
Karen,
Yes.
and that is a yes for me. So that is a unanimous vote for accepting the meeting minutes from February 17th. Item 2B, Mr. Edwards. This is to approve a request from Ken Holstrom of Parkwood Holdings LLC to purchase property, land bank owned property at 1548 Twig Street for rehab and rental. Mr. Edwards, that's you. You're muted. You're muted, sir.
My apologies.
Right.
I was asking, would it be possible if the board would approve to take 2B and 2C simultaneous since they're companion items?
Yes.
Let me do a screen share. Are y'all able to see my map?
Yes.
So item 2B is a request by Parkwood Holdings LLC to purchase land bank property at 1548 Twigs, as well as to foreclose upon 48 David. And I'll zoom in so that you can see that 48 David is the adjacent lot. Housing and Community Development, Mr. Welcher's department is doing work along Twig Street that we're very well aware of. The Twig Circle development includes not only the work that's going to be done on the front facing of Twigs, but also along McQueen Court and along Boyd Lane. And so it's my understanding from his staff that their plan will be to go down Pickett Avenue as this development node reaches completion. But we owned a very small underutilized property here at 1548. We've had several inquiries on it, but it never allowed size enough to accommodate parking requirements of planning. So the group that has approached is interested in acquiring this property, rehabbing the existing structure because they don't want to take the chance of knocking it down and having to deal with current setbacks on side. So they're going to rehab the structure, but are also requesting to foreclose upon 48 David so that they can have the room they need for parking. They have requested or countered rather what would be our typical offer of fees to the land bank, past due taxes, and any liens, as well as 50% of the assessed value. They have requested that the demolition lien of $2,580 held against 48 David Street, which is the property we're going to foreclose upon, as well as $1,431.99 in a vacant lot lien held against that same property be forgiven. We are supporting their recommendation or their request rather to submit $3,603 for 1548 Twigs and $3,857 removing those liens as well as extinguishing past due taxes for 48 David.
And I don't know if you ladies and gentlemen have had an opportunity to see that particular piece of property, but it is directly across the street from 6 houses that Housing and Community Development are building there, almost at the corner of Pickett and MLK. They've got those 6 constructed. Also, the work that is going to be going on one street over on Sherman, which is with planning now. So it is a fairly blighted structure, and the piece of property, the 48 David, which is directly behind the 1548 Twigs, is an overgrown piece of property.
Chairman?
Yes, sir.
So, Sean, so total it'd be about 7457 that they're willing to, or they're offering to purchase the 2 properties?
Yes, sir. So
Okay. I make a motion to accept.
additional transaction. I apologize, Mr. Chairman. You go ahead.
I was just going to jump in and say I make a motion to accept it.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Yeah, I was just about to say.
Sorry.
Did you have a comment? Yes, sir.
Definitely happy to see the motion move forward. I think for members of the board, as well as for Office of the Administrator, I think it's important to understand that this particular quarter, not the quarter, but this quad is one on this side that we're sort of talking about and bringing credence to, is one, in my opinion, that we have not focused totally on. Of course, directly across the street, of course, infrastructure is in, and we're moving forward directly across the street with 6 affordable units. CDBG funding, of course, was used to do the infrastructure. We're moving forward basically with home funding to be able to do those homes. Happy to hear about 1548 and 48 David. Director Ed was not sure, but I think I've had also conversation with a gentleman who has undertaken 1532 Twigs as well, and looking to do the same type of development, acquisition, rehab, for rental and or for sale. But I bring it up because when the commission made this commitment back in 2008, the whole intent of it was for the city of Augusta to commit $37.5 million, but for it to yield 4 times $150 million worth of development or investment. So, in my opinion, this is exactly what we wanted. So I'll bring. I'm not going to speak to it, but there's another property on that corridor, a multi-family directly across the street as well. I'm not going to call the address for purpose of displacement. But this corridor now coming up to the split, in my opinion, gaining activity and gaining some notoriety. So I just want to say, job well done, and thank y'all once again for being great partners that you all are.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hawthorne.
Thank you, Director Welcher. And as Hawthorne has said in the vote, the work that the city, especially led by Housing and Community Development, the work that was put in with the Twig Street development, the work on MLK, is what is attracting now, helping to attract private development along that same corridor. And so congratulations and good job on behalf of the city of Augusta. We have a motion. Go right ahead, Sean.
I just want to say, for the purpose of those who are viewing us on YouTube, we're catching feedback. So if anyone has the YouTube page playing that's also in Zoom, if you could close the YouTube, or if you have any background noise, if you could mute, because on the YouTube screen, it's creating a lot of feedback. We appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. So I have a motion that has been made by Rob Sherman, and I believe that was seconded by Lauren. Was that you that seconded the motion?
I did. I have one quick question.
Yes, ma'am.
That lot that's right behind 48 David, that 46, does that in any way impede that property?
Does it impede? Does it impede the property?
Yeah. Is it 46? I mean, is it in any way block that property? I mean, it's still accessible. I mean, is it? There's another piece of property behind it, right?
Yeah, yes, ma'am. So with the plan that we've seen for the rehab of 1548, the curb cut is actually off of David and not off of Twigs. And so whatever tenant occupies this property, or if they elect to, and they've given both scenarios, the property may be made available for sale if comps are there. Because the parking will be in the rear, this property owner, they don't have a buildable lot, but if ever they were to acquire additional property to add to 46 David, they would continue to enter from David Street as well. So there won't be any changes made to the combination of 1548 Twigs combining with 48 David that impedes the owner of 46 David from ever improving their property.
Okay. Okay, so I second the motion.
You're muted, Mr. Chairman.
I have a motion that has been made and properly seconded for the sale of 1548 Twig Street for the price of $3,603 and 48 David Street for $3,857 to Ken Holstrom of Parkwood Holdings LLC. All in favor, and I'll call the roll. Karen?
Aye.
Lauren?
Yes.
Odie?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
And it is a yes for me, so that motion carries. Item 2D, approve request from Janice Askew, Jason property owner, for assistance with the foreclosure on a parcel located at 4201 White Pine Court for expansion of current rental property. Director Edwards.
Okay, you should still see my screen, identify 4201 White Pine. Ms. Askew actually owns a investment property here at 4205 and has been maintaining the lot at 4201 at the corner just to keep the overgrowth brush from devaluing her tenant property. She has planned to pay the land bank fees and is offering a total of $6,500, which is a counter to what would be $9,750, consisting of land bank fees, delinquent taxes, and 50% of the assessed value of the lot. We're in favor of her being able to move forward, and our recommendation to the board is to go ahead and do the foreclosure, partly because she has been maintaining the lot, but then secondly, there's not been any attempt to rectifying that past due tax amount, and we don't anticipate anyone else making an effort to purchase that property. So staff is recommending approval to move forward with a client counter of $6,500.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept it.
Second?
Second for me.
Okay, I have a motion been made by Rob Sherman and seconded by Scott Roundtree to accept the offer from Ms. Janice Askew for 4201 Pine Court in the amount of $6,250. All in favor, Karen?
6,500.
6,500, I'm sorry. Karen?
Yes.
Lauren?
Yes.
Odie?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
And that is a yes for me. That motion carries. Item 2E, approve request from Stephanie Clark of eXp Realty for assistance with foreclosure on parcel located at 2309 Woodsman Drive for rehab and rental. Sean?
Apologies. So you should be now looking at 2309 Woodsman Drive, property that was brought to us by a local real estate agent, Ms. Clark, now works for eXp Realty, but is purchasing this property under her independent company with hopes of being to rehab the property. She's done her walkthrough, submitted her pictures and her budget. This property will be made available for sale. It's multi-year delinquent in taxes, as you can see from the delinquent tax amount of over $7,700. And so she is offering the total of the land bank fees of $3,500 and 50% of the assessed value at $18,654 for a total of $12,827. She is requesting that the delinquent taxes be forgiven, and we are recommending this to the board for approval.
I have a motion.
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion has been made and properly seconded to accept the counter offer from Ms. Stephanie Clark for the property located at 2309 Woodsman Drive. And that amount is $9,327. Is that correct?
12,000. 12,827.
For the amount of $12,827. All in favor? Karen,
Yes.
Lauren,
Yes.
Odie,
Yes.
Rob,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
and that is a yes for me. And so that motion carries. Item F, request from Jeremy Johnson of Vetted Investments and Acquisitions for assistance from the land bank to foreclose on a parcel located at 514 Fairhope Street for new construction of a duplex for rental. Sean?
Yes, sir. So y'all should now be seeing my screen to show 514 Fairhope Street. It's a property in the neighborhood of Marion Homes in the East Augusta area. The company that is submitting this has already done some private acquisitions, direct sale, homeowner to company owner, and they're looking to try to increase the number of properties that they have in this community. If you've recently, past year or so, driven through Marion Homes, you see that there's been a lot of improvement. And if you've been down there and within the past week, you see that there's a new sign going out. So it's obvious that this is an area that's going to start to receive some investment. So we vetted the application from Mr. Johnson. We feel confident in their ability to go back with their plan. So we are recommending to the board that the $3,500 worth of standard fees plus $2,441, 50% of the assessed value for a total of $5,941 be accepted. That would require the removal of a demolitions lien of $7,773.71, as well as the extinguishment of taxes of $5,544.63. But staff is recommended to the board for approval.
Do you have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion has been made and properly seconded. Lisa, that was Karen and Odie.
Thank you.
Doing the second. For foreclosure on the parcel located at 514 Fairhope Street in the amount of $5,941. Karen,
Yes.
Lauren,
Yes.
Odie,
Yes.
Rob,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
and that is a yes for me. That motion carries. Item G, approve owner request to donate a parcel located at 1965 Kissenbauer Road. Sean?
Oh, sorry. So you should now be looking at 1965 Kissenbauer. It is a commercially zoned parcel front facing along Gordon Highway. The old Motor Mile area going back to the Regency Mall may have encompassed this piece of property at one point that is directly across from Regency Mall. As part of our property acquisition and inventorying strategy that you heard back in 2020, which will be expounded upon when we get to items of discussion. We would have wanted to get this no matter what. But the fact that it's commercially zoned and just down from another piece of property at 1464A, which my cursor is on, but let me just do an identify to make sure you're seeing it. It's also owned by the land bank that came in as a donation. We want to ensure that we're going to be creating as many opportunities as possible, not just for investors that want to do residential development, but those that want to bring jobs to our industry. And so commercial property is extremely valuable to us. Staff is recommending to the board to accept the donation of this lot at 1965 Kissenbauer.
And am I seeing that the owner has agreed to pay the donation fee of $1,535?
That is correct, sir.
Do I have a motion?
Chairman, I'll make a motion, but if I could make a comment.
Yes, sir.
It's an ideal piece of property, zone commercial, on Gordon Highway. It is in the floodplain. and it is somewhat bowl shaped, but it can be developed. With that said, I think it's certainly worthy of taking or accepting.
Understand. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion has been made by Rob and seconded by Scott to accept the donation of 1965 Kissenbauer Road from the current owner. And that owner is agreeing to pay the donation fee of $1,535. All in favor? Karen,
Yes.
Lauren,
Yes.
Odie,
Yes.
Rob,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
and that is a yes from me. That motion carries. Item H, request donation, or owner wants to donate parcel located at 2727 Smith Drive. Sean?
You should now be looking, well, you can't see numbers because my computer's updating, but you're looking at 2727 Smith Drive. It's a property out in the South Augusta area. It's residentially zoned, but is slightly larger than neighboring properties, all of which have more than modest homes on them. We think that we could easily market this piece of property to someone for them to be able to build a new unit, be it they do it for sale or for rental, because the area is stable. The owner is submitting that they will pay the donation fee, and so we're recommending approval by the board to accept this donation at 2727 Smith.
Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion was made by Scott Roundtree and seconded by Odie Donald. All in favor of accepting the donation of 2727 Smith Drive with the owner paying the donation fee of $1,535. Karen,
Yes.
Lauren,
Yes.
Odie,
Yes.
Rob,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
and that is a yes for me. Okay, that is the voting piece of business that we have. At this time, John is going to go over the foreclosure and donations that we have. We're going to update those.
Sure, just real quick, guys. We had 2 successful sales in March, both for third-party requests. So in 2 months, we'll be ready to sell those. I have 2 more sales coming up in April if we have a ex officio available. It is Masters Week, so we'll see if that works out or not. If not, we'll have to push it back to May. We are getting ready to close on the group at top, which is numbers 17 through 27, which is the Sherman Street properties. This was one that Mr. Edwards requested the board to approve because he thinks he could package them and sell them to a third-party developer, which he has done very quickly. So that's exciting. That's the first time we've done that. It was a pretty good success on our part and Mr. Edwards. Next group getting ready to come in that would be ready to sell would be the, let's see, I think it starts at 36 through 42, which is a First and Second Avenue, which is another batch that's going to be coming to the land bank's name for Mr. Edwards to market and sell to a developer hopefully sooner than later.
And John, let me interrupt for just a second. Hawthorne, you probably want to keep those in mind as well, because those are the Sand Hills properties directly located behind Greater Mount Canaan.
Yes, sir. You were reading my mind. There's a lot of attraction going on with these parcels today. I'm gonna tell you that now. So
yes, sir.
Out there too long.
We'll take it. I'm sorry, John.
No, sure. Yeah, the one other not on this list is we're also getting ready to sell is the project that we completed for Turn Back the Block. That should close this month as well. So a lot of activity going on with the foreclosures that we've been doing. A lot of good activity. The other list is donations. On the donations list, we got a couple pending, and I saw we got some more today, which is good because a lot downtown, because the downtown area has become Very popular spot, and I'll put the land bank in a good position.
Thank you, John. Anybody have any questions or comments for John? There's something that is not on the list, but John's updating on the donations and foreclosures, it just reminded me, we had a meeting with Saunders. Saunders is the group that bought the large group of properties over in Old Town, some of which they have started to develop, some of which they're not quite certain when they're going to be able to develop those. And so, long story short, the first phase, which they have, and then a portion of the phase 2, which is about 6 other properties, we've told them that we will not, they will be allowed to keep those. The other properties that they have, though, if they don't have us in short time, within the next 3 months, if they don't have a plan to start immediately with being shovel-ready projects, then we're going to market those to other investors. We've had a lot of interest in that particular area. We've been sitting on those properties for some time. You ladies and gentlemen know that I have this thing about speculation. I don't believe that and I know that's not their intent. So I certainly don't want to give the impression that their intent was to speculate. But because of COVID, because of the lumber prices going up, things have changed a little bit for them. So certainly they're going to be allowed to continue with the first 20 properties that they have, but those other 30 some properties, we will get in the hands of other developers unless they are able to get us some shovel-ready projects over the next 3 months. At this time, we will go into item 3B. That's me recapping the Blight Task Force meeting. We had a very, very good task force meeting held at Rob's exceptional training facility. That meeting included the tax assessor's office, housing and community development, the marshal's office, you have a planning piece as well as a code enforcement piece. You have environmental services, and Commissioner Johnson was there, as well as Commissioner Kendrick, who started out the meeting. And the intent of the task force is to look at our current ordinances, our current definition of blight, and see if we have what we need to, on the one hand, be able to enforce the remediation and removal of blight. And then on the second portion is to have a strategy that if in the event the owner is unable or unwilling to do something about their blighted property, how we can go into an acquisition phase. And so we have, and we're going to report all findings and all recommendations back to Administrator Donald, as well as advise the commission on what to do with blight. Interestingly enough, as Administrator Donald mentioned earlier, we were able to get the SPLOST package passed, which has a blight piece in that as well. 2 subcommittees were established. One subcommittee was to take a look at our current codes and ordinances and to see if we need a blight ordinance, and if so, to go ahead and to start to construct one so that we can turn that over to the administrator and to the commission, as well as make sure that we have a current and good definition for blight that is going to help us in our current needs. We were able to go out and do some benchmarking with some other counties and and some other cities and see some of the things that they're doing and see if that's something that we need to implement here. So there's a subcommittee that was established to do that, and it's going to be led by Bill Provost of the Marshal's office. And then there's a second subcommittee, which is to look at acquired properties and acquiring properties and what to do with those properties once they've been acquired. What we don't want to do is create a big, nice, clean dumping ground, have a bunch of demolished properties, but nothing that hadn't done anything with them. And so the other committee is to take a look at that. That is headed by Director Edwards, and it has Housing and Community Development, Tax Assessor's Office, and the first committee I didn't mention is headed by Bill Provost, but it has the Marshal's Office, it has Environmental Services, it has HCD and Planning. Planning is actually on both of those committees, as well as the Land Bank on both of those committees. Again, we had a very, very robust meeting. It also means that the first and the third Wednesdays, when Rob will tell you that in our past history as a land bank, we actually had 2 meetings. The third Wednesday, which what we're doing now, is the transactional meeting. The first Wednesday was for planning, and so we're going to start doing that again. We're going to have meetings on the first Wednesday, but it is strictly for blight removal. That's for the blight task force. All members of the land bank are invited to attend. Those meetings will be held at 2:00 as well. They're actually held in person in the Rob's training room up on the 3rd floor, Rob Sherman's training room.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
I just want to add and let everybody know that I have updated the land bank calendar to add on the blight meetings as well. And what I will do is go ahead and send it to all you guys. And so if you're interested in coming, you'll have all that information.
Thank you, Lisa. Our meeting in April, the first meeting is actually going to be on the 11th. We didn't want to try the patience of any of those who might be spring breaking or doing some other things, since that is Masters Week and the spring break here in Augusta. So we're actually moving that one to the second Wednesday at 2:00. All other meetings for the Blight Task Force will be held on the first Wednesday at 2:00. Again, those are held in the training room, planning and development's training room on the 3rd floor. But again, it was a very good meeting. I'm actually chairing that task force, and Marshall Lampkin is the co-chair of that task force. Mr. Edwards, our 3-year strategic plan update.
Yes, sir. So while out on our benchmarking trip to Atlanta this year, we had the opportunity to meet Tax Commissioner's office, specifically Chairman Johnson, Ashley Neville in his office, and Lisa and myself, in order to start to look at where we go next as an entity, being the land bank. I'd like to take a quick moment for those who may be unaware. That afternoon ended up being freed up due to a loss in the family of Miss Sarah Turing. She has been a longtime supporter of the Augusta, Georgia Land Bank. She's an employee of the Center for Community Progress. We've got a great relationship with them, and so she lost her father-in-law. If you haven't had a chance to reach out to her, definitely keep her in your prayers. But use that opportunity wisely in order to go through and start to plan for what will be the next 3 years. And with the approval of the SPLOST vote yesterday, that could become, at your recommendation, a 5-year plan if it better aligns. But strategically, and you'll receive something in much more detail. I've been told don't give you something as thick as your policy and procedure manual, but it won't be 1 page. But essentially, we will break out a scattered site acquisitions plan that will cover a 3 or 5 year period. Again, if you give me instructions to go 5 years instead of 3, it will include a housing development plan and how we address investor properties as well as investor workshops. We had one very successful at the start of 2020. We knew that we would not be in a position to do one this year, but we have recently, and when I say we in this instance is staff, have been given instruction that it is going to happen. It's just going to happen later in the year. So we'll cover those as well as blight remediation. So those are the areas that we feel that we need to have heavy focus. Part of this strategy will pull from your policies because it is going to require that I bring something before you and ask that you make a change to how I worded neighborhood revitalization as a priority for our community considerations. But then it'll also have broke out recommendations in each of these areas for you to review. I will make sure that you have those well in advance of the meeting that will be requested as a work session for us to answer questions. And of course, as I did before, I'll take all of your recommendations, edits, and revisions, make those, and then bring them back to you before we have a finalized 3 or 5 year plan. What I would like to be able to just take an additional moment on, since I spoke about the investor workshop, there was another workshop that was also planned, and y'all have heard about this after its cancellation, which was the church and nonprofit planned workshop that I believe would have been November of last year. So we are going to find both location and date sometime late summer, early fall that makes sense to bring that back. So you'll be invited to nothing less than 2 conferences this year once we get those on the calendar. Again, we'll find location that makes sense. The investor workshop will be 20-25 companies, but the church workshop could be 100 selected churches as well as associated staff. So we've got to play that one very carefully. We also missed a meeting with CCP and Wells Fargo while on benchmarking. So that's going to get back on the calendar. It may be virtual, but we'll make sure that that's on your calendars as well, because that's a conversation that has been progressing since the submission of a white paper to CCP to reach out to their banking partners to position the land bank to have a conversation about a revolving loan fund. And then the third piece in that discussion of conferences and conversations and events that need to happen was a discussion brief, but we'll need to come to you at some point about a board retreat. At some point in the future, staff believes that it will be beneficial for the board to be able to have more time to give us instruction, ask some questions, see how the workings of the organization are progressing, and if we're meeting the needs of the community as you see we should be. Our role is different, and this is not to in any way not previous leadership or previous plan, but we are developing into an entity that doesn't just hold property. And I'm working very closely with the chairman, but the board in its entirety to ensure that we're doing everything that you expect that a land bank would be doing, especially one as visible as Richmond County's. We don't have the size or budget of Atlanta Fulton, but we have strategically some strategies that are very close to what Chris Norman would be doing in that area. And we have been recognized amongst our peers throughout the state as being a land bank even before my tenure here. That is one that is to be respected and highly regarded. I want to make sure that that doesn't in any way change. So I want to stay in front of what's happening. I want to try to make sure that we're staying creative about the solutions that our community needs and ensuring that we're being the tool that this government can best utilize to meet all these new challenges as we grow. And some of that's going to require your consultation. So we'll try to plan for, based on your schedules and based on COVID, what will make sense for a board retreat as well. So I just want to give you an update on where we are on the strategic plan piece, and then those up and coming meetings whenever we can get them scheduled. You're muted, sir.
Thank you. That actually is a good segue into the last piece, and that is the return to in-person meetings. Certainly, we do not know the timetable of this diminishing of COVID effect on our not only our city government and its inner workings, but our country as far as in the world at large. We do know that the United States is on a very fast track as far as getting vaccines for its adults, possibly even teens sometime later in the year. And so at some point we need to start talking about a meeting in person. I actually miss meeting in person, but at the same time, we want to make sure that whatever we do it safely. So this is a discussion. I want to say one thing about what Sean just said about the retreat. One of the other things that we want to get accomplished at retreat is we want an opportunity for the commissioners to be able to stop in and see what we're doing. None of what we're doing is something that is covert. We're certainly the things that we can't always talk about as far as real estate transactions in the public, but everything else, especially our plans and what we intend to get accomplished, the things that we need to learn to be a better operating land bank. Certainly those are things that we want not only our city government, but our city leaders to be aware of. And so certainly they will be invited to that retreat as well. So in-person meeting. Sean, did you have any particular thoughts about when you think we should start meeting again in person?
In part, sir, that is dependent upon everyone's individual decision about vaccination. I think that would be part of the consideration first and foremost. I would typically say we'd follow the pattern of the commission, but as we're very well aware, each of them is already elected to get vaccines. So that's the first consideration, is if you have decided vaccination is right for you. Secondly, would be our ability to offer proper distancing and space. Our meetings work very well here in the conference room of Enterprise Mill when it is just our board and a visitor or two. But if the agenda for today, 6, 7 items, had 2 or 3 persons coming per team, we would not be able to safely socially distance you having that number of persons waiting to speak, which means we'd have to utilize halls, things of that nature. So if we do say we want to do that, I need to find a space to present to you first and foremost, so that you can see that and feel that there is going to be adequate room or waiting area, something of that nature. But as it pertains to the need, and this isn't to pressure any member of the board, we've done really well, thanks to Jeff and the city's IT department, to ensure that when presentations are necessary from folks on our agenda, that they have the opportunity. But we get a lot of increase for just the desire to be present, as opposed to just being there when you're trying to do business. And it used to be open door to allow folks to learn about land banking as transactions were taking place in a way that's very different than watching it on YouTube. So I know the minute that we make that available, we'll have a nice sized room of individuals that want to be present and learn. That is as much the consideration as anything at this point, is there are more people who want to be present than are doing business. So it definitely needs to be a couple of months from now so that we can get out of what some are thinking is going to be this next phase coming out of spring breaks. But does that mean November? No, sir, I haven't locked in that far. I think that we might be in a position that late summer, early fall, we could return to in person.
Chairman, got a couple of comments on that.
Yes, sir, Administrator, go ahead.
So, I think the commission was quite eager to return to, the chambers for a variety of different reasons. But what I would say is, I think we came to a fair compromise that would do 2 things. One, start the process of a return to normalcy in a safe environment, which is really important to make sure that folks are safe and you're not exposing all of your leadership who can make decisions at one time. And so that's a part of what we did with the commission. And you note that we're only going back for commission meetings, not for committee meetings. So that's an important deliberation, but also in the differentiation. But in addition to that, we would also be hearing from the Department of Public Health, which I'm actually working to follow up on today. I would encourage us you know, here at the Land Bank Authority to also do the same thing, because they could deem all of those great efforts that we put in place, you know, to go back into the chambers not enough, or they may recommend additional safeguards. I think what we've done aligns with, you know, what the Department of Public Health and the CDC recommends, and so hopefully it's a guide for the land bank and others moving forward. But I would likely wait to hear the assessment and input from the Department of Public Health, you know, before we make medical decisions, to a certain extent, you know, just for the good of meeting. I do think it's important for us to, at the appropriate time, make sure we give full access to the public, but in lieu of endangering our ability to deliver services, I would always kind of include our health partners before we make that decision.
Thank you for that comment. And something that Sean said, along with what you just said, something I hadn't considered. You know, when we talk about meeting in person, I was really just thinking about the board, but this is a public meeting. And, you know, Sean mentioned about getting vaccinations. And certainly, even if we all agree that we're going to get vaccination, that doesn't necessarily mean that the public would be required or would necessarily do the same. And so I'm certainly inclined to agree with Odie that we certainly should make sure that we stay in contact with the Department of Public Health to see what their recommendations are as we go further. I would like to table this discussion. Certainly, if anybody has a comment, please do so. But I would like for us to revisit, is what I should say, this maybe in 2 months. Let's say maybe in May. Let's see where we are, see what the Department of Public Health has to say at that time, and then bring it back up for discussion at the board meeting. Anybody else have any comments about that? Okay, then.
Chris,
Go ahead, Rob.
just one thing with all that was said, when it gets to the time of going back to a live meeting,
Yes.
Sean, if you want to use the third floor, if that will work, I mean, keep it in mind, you're welcome to it. And that's it. It may be a little bit larger space than we've had.
Thanks for that.
It's an option.
Thank you. Okay, well, if we don't have, if there's no other comments, again, enjoy your St. Patty's Day and have a good remainder of the week. And this meeting is adjourned.
All right.